Hello and welcome back to the CorePerform Corner. We are joined this week by Jenn, who has been with CorePerform for what is it, like 2 or 3 years now?
Started in 2019.
Yeah, like it's nuts. And now she's working with Nick, the personal trainer. And so I wanted to kind of share Jenn's journey because I think Jenn's really unique and she's like an exemplary model of someone who has gone through CorePerform, who has dealt with SIBO, but we never did gut testing on you. We never did supplements on you. We actually healed you naturally with food with that SIBO. And then we started working on physicals when you were ready, but because you had come from this restrictive background, there was a lot more of like the mentality around healing that we needed to address. And that kind of showcased in a lot of what we did, where we decided, for example, like we didn't track macros with you, we tracked exchanges. And for those of you who don't know, exchanges is more of kind of like a looser way to track macros. Basically, it says like you have 10 starches in a day to hit, and one piece of bread is equal to one starch. So instead of like sitting there weighing your food, you can go out to lunch, you can order a sandwich, and you can say, okay, my sandwich had 2 pieces of bread, which is 2 starches. It had about 3 or 4 ounces of chicken, which is about 2 or 3 exchanges of protein, and you can kind of build it that way, and it's a lot less restrictive and over analytical. So I think that it's really important for this episode specifically to address how you flipped the switch on physicals and fitness to healing your body, to overcoming body image like issues that had came from that fitness kind of realm. So starting off with that, do you want to just share a little bit more about that journey, and we can talk about more tips of overcoming those body image things?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I started before you even were calling it CorePerform in 2019. Way back, it feels so long ago. And I came to you after having like a year's worth of digestive issues and like having not very good experiences with gastroenterologists. So when I did come to you, I was actually just about to start 2 different antibiotics for SIBO. And so we weren't going the antimicrobial or even any supplements really. I was just doing the antibiotics, and the big part was the food. And for me, it was really about eating enough food. And you held me accountable to eating as much as my body actually needed, which at the time was a lot.
Mhm.
And it was really, really challenging mentally to eat that much food, honestly. Coming from a background where I had been restricting for probably years, like not even intentionally, it was just kind of like what I was used to. And then I think I started working out when I was 16. And so coming to you in 2019, I'd already been lifting for years. And that kind of, I started working out because I was like, okay, I'm really tired of being super weak and I want to be stronger. But I was missing the whole nutrition portion and not feeling my body to be able to progress in the gym whatsoever. Um,
So what were some of your tips for kind of making that shift where it was like you had to eat more food because it would improve motility? So for those of you who don't know, with SIBO, one of the biggest issues is motility issues. It's kind of like a slow gut. And this can happen due to low thyroid issues that are either resulting from the gut issues or happened prior to. So depending on the person, it's very important to increase your amount of calories that you're eating, not only in, to fuel those processes. You need carbs for thyroid conversion, which will then in turn allow for more neurotransmitter production, which will more hormones, and the neurotransmitters in your gut are responsible for that motility, for initiating that action. So the more we could feed that process, it was helping Jen to clear out that SIBO and prevent that relapse from happening, and to fuel her body into a normal state where she's not chronically stressed and able to actually digest the food. So would you have any like tips on overcoming that stage? Because I feel like so many people come to me and they're like, Dasha, I don't want to eat more food. I can't eat more food. I'm struggling with body image. I'm gaining all this weight. Like, what do I do?
One of the biggest things for me was going to therapy, and one of the things that stuck with me from that time was she told me, put away the body length mirror. Like, stop looking at yourself, stop over analyzing what you look like. And I did that. I put the mirror in my closet, and I was like trying to switch the mindset that I had into I'm more than like my body, what is happening in my digestive system, and being more than a specific physique that, you know, I couldn't attain at the time. So I was really trying to focus on shifting my mentality to how I wanted to feel rather than how I wanted to look, because I figured, you know, if I want to look a certain way, I can't attain that until like my body is functioning properly. So let's focus on how I want to feel, which was a lot less crappy.
Mm-hmm. And so that's so funny that you say that about putting the body length mirror in your closet, because I've had clients do that. And it reminds me, I've also had clients like take their food scale and legit chuck it out their window. They were like, it's so like liberalizing.
Yeah, because I never really had that issue. Like, although it was restrictive, I was never super obsessive with weighing food. Like, I never even had a food scale until working with you. I never like did any of that sort of stuff. And I wasn't really obsessed with the scale or anything like that. It just, I don't know, it's complicated. Body image is complicated.
Yeah, for everyone, it's so different, right? For some people, it's the mirror. For some people, it's the scale. For some people, it's the food scale versus the actual weighing scale of your body weight. For some people, like it needs to be all of the above and just thrown away for a period of time. So how did you know that you needed to actually focus on your mental health a little bit more than you previously thought in order to overcome your digestive issues?
Oh, that's a good question. For years and years, like I was struggling, and
what were like some red flags in your head that you were thinking and you were like, okay, that doesn't sound right. Now that I'm looking at it, like that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things that looking back at it was a red flag is like that I was ignoring my hunger cues to a point where I didn't really even have any. So once I worked with you, and then the following year in 2020, I worked with another practitioner and really learned how to hone in on my personal hunger cues, because it's not always that obvious, like grumbling in your stomach. And I rarely have that. For me, it's like I had to learn that I feel my blood sugar drop. Like I feel lightheaded. I feel cranky. If I'm working on something on the computer, I suddenly like can't figure out how to do what I know that I know how to do. Like I lose my focus. So sometimes if I'm really focused on something, to this day, I will put off my lunch and try to just work through it. But I can't work through the hunger, because even though my stomach's not grumbling, I know that like I can't focus anymore and I need to stop and I need to eat, and then I'll be able to continue on in a more productive manner afterwards.
And having those scheduled times to eat, I think in the beginning was what was so helpful for you and then a lot of core performers, and trying to shift maybe the amounts that we're eating. I have so many people tell me, I'm not hungry in the morning, Dasha, I don't want to eat. And so what we do is we kind of shift, okay, breakfast is going to be your biggest thing. So let's get over that now. And then have a smaller meal later on, and eventually your body will pick up and it'll wake up hungry because you had a very small meal before bed, so it's going to be hungry for breakfast, and that helps to kind of shift that a little bit towards your circadian rhythm more, and that's going to improve your insulin sensitivity. A lot of your cortisol levels and calming down the system, because that's when we're primed, right? After a period of fasting, our body is primed and it's more insulin resistant than ever before. Funny that you mentioned the stomach growling. There's a really funny word for it. Do you know what it is?
No, I don't.
I butcher it every time, but it's borborygmi. And that's like the real name of like the stomach growling that you hear. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're hungry. It's just like called like what stomach grumbling is. It's called borborygmi. So it's a fun word to throw around whenever you get like that embarrassing moment in the office when you're just like, sorry, it's my borborygmi. Alrighty. So a lot of what we talked about was kind of how the mental aspect has helped you, but what about the exchanges specifically, and CorePerform specifically? Like, what made it so transformative during that period of time for you?
Yeah, definitely. And when I was working with you, I don't even think we called it exchanges. You kind of just gave me like a template meal plan and said, this is what you're eating at these 4 times during the day. And I was like, oh my gosh, Dasha, this is so much. I can't do it. For the first week, it was so hard. I will not forget that. It was so hard. I was stuffing myself at every meal. But after that, it became normal. And once my body was like, okay, yeah, we can eat food.
And then didn't you even get more hunger cues too towards the end? And you were just like, oh, Dasha, I actually want more food now in the day. Like,
yeah.
I'm actually like, you started getting really hungry.
Yeah, I did start getting really hungry. My body like woke up.
Yeah.
Yes. CorePerform like overall was just, I think it was the accountability that was the most helpful, because you were not messing around and you would not let me mess around, even though I didn't want to eat all the food all the time, especially early on. Because we didn't really do any supplements or anything like that. It was pretty much only the food and then a little bit of exercise towards the end.
Oh, excuse me, all of the lifestyle things we were working on.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the thing that's the most overwhelming for most people.
Oh
Because
yeah.
a lot of what we do is a lot of lifestyle changes. So do you remember some of them that you had done?
It's hard because I did a separate protocol a year after, and so I'm not 100% which
They
was what.
skewed. Yeah. What we do a lot in CorePerform is a lot of the like pro-motility agents with ginger or prune juice or kiwis to help
Oh,
with the, now it's coming back, right? To
terrible.
help with the motility. Yep, the ginger drinks. We usually dilute it in some apple cider vinegar for people who have low stomach, who have a little bit low stomach acid. It helps some people, but again, you have to get to your root cause. It's not going to be a cure-all for most people. With someone with SIBO, where their SIBO and their overgrowth is suppressing their natural production of stomach acid, it can be helpful. Some people need higher amounts and they need something like bitters. Some people need something more than that, like HCl. It's very dangerous though to go straight to HCl, because if you have H. pylori, it can cause gastric ulcers and cancers. So please don't jump the gun on that one.
And I have
But
tried all of those things.
yeah. But a lot of what we do too is walking outside, really working on meditation, yoga, and then when your body is ready, reintroducing that fitness aspect. So that's kind of where Nick jumped in, and now she's transitioned from that kind of mindset of healing, and now you're actually working on physique and strength goals again, right?
Yep.
So what made the shift for you, and what made this transition kind of more healthier, and you knew that it was a better route for you?
Mm-hmm. Well, once like the end of college 2020 and pandemic stuff hit, I really didn't exercise for like a year and a half, maybe it's like here and there, but I didn't have any sort of schedule as I did in the past, which I think was really important, because I kind of had to reset my relationship with exercise. And Then in 2021, coming back to the gym and getting into a routine, I was like, okay, I know what to do in the gym, but I don't feel like I'm progressing. And I like feel weak. And I'm like, okay, I need a little help. Again, I needed that a little bit of push and accountability. It's just to get me going and kind of keep me on the right track. So that's when I reached out to you again and I said, hey, I think I want to do CorePerform Lite.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we are now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. And so, Nick, why don't you talk a little bit about how you're dealing with this case specifically, what your goals are for Jenn, and how you're going through it?
Yeah, so when Jen came to me, she was doing some of those influencer type workouts that really weren't, getting her the results that she was needing. She didn't know if she was getting stronger. She didn't know, um, she was basically I mean, she was basically working out still and she had a program, but she wasn't really having specific goals she was trying to reach. She didn't know how hard to push. She didn't know intensity techniques, all that kind of fun stuff. So what we did right off the bat was I asked her what her goals were, which mainly was strength gaining. And so basically, I built a 4-day week program based on her progressively overloading herself, getting stronger, and being able to push each time. We kept track of our weight to use through a rep count app, so she always knows what she did the previous week, and she knows how to get there or what number to beat. And so we actually did that for like the first 2 or 3 months, Jen, and then I'll actually let Jen explain kind of like what actually, do you want to explain what we ended up changing to, or I guess I can go ahead and change it. So basically Jen came to me, sorry. So Jen kind of gave me some feedback after a while. She's like, I've been really progressing really well, but here recently I've just kind of hit a plateau and I'm not really sure why. And so I was able to introduce a technique with her called cycle syncing. So basically, with cycle syncing, I synced her workouts with where she's at in her cycle. So basically, there is whenever you're going through the first part from the time you start your period to the time you ovulate is your follicular phase. So during that phase, you're your strongest, you have the most energy, you're the most insulin sensitive, like everything is firing off of the gym. So during those times, I'm pushing Jen, we're going to failure, we're beating new PRs, we're doing all that. And then as soon as ovulation hits, and then up until her next period, we switch back over to we're not doing any failures. Everything else is basically exact same, but we're not actually going to failure anymore. She's still going in those 4 days a week. She's still tracking her progress and she's still pushing, but she's not pushing as hard. We're not going to failure. We're letting their body rest more. And then Jen, how has that been working for you here recently?
That works amazing. Like I told you in the past, I was always aware of times throughout the month where I was a lot more tired, but I could never pinpoint why. So with the cycle program, I can see exactly when I'm switching from the follicular phase to the luteal phase, and that's when my energy starts to dip down a lot. So I know that once day one of my period hits, I can start going hard in the gym again, and energy is way up, and I feel so much stronger. And it's really great to be able to understand how that works in relationship with the gym.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And so now that because I've seen so many people do like cycle syncing or just not, and everyone is so different about whether it works for them or not. So I'm glad that it's working for you. Now, in terms of macros and exchanges, are you tracking those right now?
We're doing exchanges.
Is it for a specific goal or just to make sure that you're eating enough kind of throughout the day?
So Nick kind of laughs at me because he says I'm the only client of his that doesn't really have a weight goal, and it kind of like freaks him out that I'm not complaining about my weight, blah blah blah. But just based on my history and like my beliefs with fitness. I am not really concerned with the weight and the number on the scale, as long as my weights in the gym are going up and I'm getting stronger. So exchanges are, I mean, some days of the week I am not as hungry. So some days it is just helpful to help me eat enough. Other days I am not as, more hungry or less hungry. So generally it is to help me hit the correct amount. But we have been adjusting my exchanges a little bit here and there the past few weeks, because I would like to see the muscle that I'm building a little bit. So I guess that would be a little to lose a little bit, but I'm not obsessing over it. I'm more concerned with the strength and being able to teach my yoga classes, which when I first came to Nick, I was like, I can't get through a 60-minute class. I feel like I'm going to pass out. And so that was originally my first concern. Like, can I even get through my own classes? And now I teach a 75-minute class and I feel great afterwards, and I do it fasted. So yeah.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better then and working on more goals. Is there anything that you would recommend for people who are going through their shift and really having a hard time disconnecting from that? Because so many people, like Nick said, are so weight focused. And like, how did you do that? Because so many people, right, are like the opposite.
The majority, yeah. Well, what made a huge difference for me was learning about the impacts of diet culture and how it infiltrates like every aspect of fitness, wellness, nutrition, kind of, learning how damaging it can be, and kind of separating myself from, this is not something that I believe in. I've seen that it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for other people. And it's not easy to step away from something that is, the norm. It's really hard, but being able to separate, just because something is popular or common doesn't mean it's healthy. It doesn't mean it's normal. So it comes down to, you have to want to make that break away from diet culture and, being super restrictive, being obsessive. And I could go on and on and on about this, but for the sake of this, I will keep it at that.
I think you bring up a really great point about how we work as human beings. And I think that you highlighted grouping people. Oh, I'm not like them. Like you, and whether it was good or bad, or whether you agree with diet culture or not, a lot of people, what we do is we segregate these groups into whatever, and then we dissociate. And that just helps us mentally be like, I don't want to be like them. What would they be doing? I don't want to be like them. And although I don't necessarily think that that's a healthy or unhealthy way, like, I don't know. I just think that it's a really interesting conversation to have with yourself and with other people, because I find myself doing that too. I'm not going to lie. Like, I find myself being like, okay, well, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to live like those types of people. And it helps because it makes you also realize who you are and what your core values are and what you stand by on a day-to-day basis. And the more you can kind of identify your true core values, which is something we really, really focus on at CorePerform, is understanding just who you are. Once you know that and you feel confident in that, and you have so much self-love for those core values of who you are and what you stand by, nothing else around you really matters, because you are so in love 100% with who you are. Morally, all your core values are aligned. You feel free at that point. And so hopefully that was kind of helpful for everyone listening. Nick and Jen, do you guys have any other concluding points that you want to make?
I will just say that for those people that are struggling to make that break, you have to know that your behaviors and your lifestyle changes and the actions that you take that will influence your health in the long run. It doesn't have to be tied to how you look or your body size. Focus on the actionable things that you can change, and that'll make a huge difference.
I love that.
That's a good sign off.
Alrighty. Well, with that, thank you guys for joining us on another CorePerform Corner. Hope you guys enjoy having some past core performers on the show. As always, please make sure to leave a review, share the episode, and let us know what you think. We're always here to strive to be better, just like you. Alrighty. Bye, guys.
Bye.